Imagine being born, and your entire life is already written for you, in blood, in fire, in silence. You're not a daughter, not a child. You're property, a future womb, a potential disgrace. From the moment you take your first breath, the world is already trying to control it. Now imagine this isn't just your story, but the fate of millions, across centuries, across empires, across every so-called civilization that built its greatness on the silencing of half its people. So today we're asking the question most people are too afraid to face. What were the worst times in human history to be born as a woman? We're counting down 5 periods so brutal, so dehumanizing, that even survival felt like rebellion. And trust me, by the time we reach number 1, you'll understand why just existing as a woman was once the most dangerous act of all. Let's begin with number 5, the age of breeding, medieval Europe, 11th to 14th centuries. You're born into a world of mud, firewood, and superstition. You're 12 years old, your first period has just arrived, and tomorrow you're getting married. Not to some boy you like, but to a grown man with yellow teeth and rough hands who already sees you as a future baby machine. Your body isn't yours. It's your family's property, and now it's being handed over to your husband. If you fail to get pregnant, you're worthless. If you give birth to daughters, you're a disgrace. If you ask too many questions, you're a witch. Midwives and widows were often the first to be accused when something went wrong. A dead child, a sick animal, and justice was a burning stake in the village square. In childbirth, it's not a blessing. It's a death sentence. No painkillers, no hygiene. 1 in 3 women died giving birth. And if you survived, you were expected to get up and start working again. The church said it was your duty. Men said it was your place. The law didn't even recognize rape within marriage. Because how can a man rape his own property? Your life is short. Your freedom is none. And your suffering, it's silent. Because in medieval Europe, you're not a woman. You're a womb with legs. Now we move to number 4, the era of silenced genius, 18th and 19th century England. You're born in a candlelit world of teacups and tight corsets. Society tells you that a proper lady never shouts, never runs, never writes, never leads. But you have a brain. You're curious. You read in secret and write stories under your pillow. But when you finally submit your work, publishers tell you to use a man's name because women writers are a joke. So you become George Eliot, Currer Bell, Mary Shelley. Your work changes the world, but nobody knows it's you. And if you dare fall in love without marriage, you're shamed. Your own family might disown you. Society will spit on you. You're labeled ruined for life. Meanwhile, the man walks free, untouched. Even medicine sees you as a problem. If you show any emotion, they diagnose you with hysteria. The cure? Electric shocks, asylums, bleeding you with leeches. Your suffering isn't medical, it's moral, and your role is to endure it. Your ideas, your voice, your mind, all locked behind the bars of femininity. In this era, if you're quiet, you're praised. If you speak, you're mad. Now it gets worse. Number 3, the blood tribunal, witch hunts in early modern Europe, 14th to 17th centuries. You're born in a rural town gripped by fear. Crops fail, a child dies, someone sees you walking alone, and now you're the devil's bride. They knock on your door, drag you out, tie you down, demand a confession. You say you're innocent, so they torture you until you scream. If you bleed, it's proof. If you don't, it's more proof. You are tied to a chair and thrown into a river. If you float, you're a witch. If you sink, you die innocent. Over 60,000 people were executed during these hunts, and 80% of them were women. Most were elderly, unmarried, or midwives. Others were just outspoken, or weird, or too independent. You didn't have to be guilty. You just had to be visible. These weren't trials, these were purges of women with knowledge, women with opinions, or women who were simply alone. In this age, womanhood itself was suspicion. Survival meant submission. Death meant silence. Now we go even further back. Number 2, the invisible death. Ancient Greece and Rome. 500 BC, 400 AD. The so-called cradles of civilization. The lands of Plato, Socrates, Caesar. But if you're born a girl here, your name might not even be recorded. You're not allowed to go outside without a male guardian. You can't vote, can't own land, can't speak in the public forum. You are trained, not educated, trained to cook, clean, obey, and bleed. You're married off at 12 or 13. And once married, your job is simple. Produce a son. If you don't, you're replaceable. If you are raped, it's not a crime against you, but against your father's property. Your own body has no legal identity. In ancient Rome, husbands had full authority to beat or even kill their wives for dishonor. Divorce for women was nearly impossible. And baby girls, often left to die. It was called exposure, placing infants outdoors until they perished. Girls were liabilities, financial burdens, not worth food, water, or love. In this world, your life could be ended before your name even began. And now, number one, the era of living burial. Ancient India up to the 1800s. This is the darkest, the most unspeakable. You're born in a village where your worth is measured in silence, in shame, in flames. If your husband dies, your fate is sati. That means you are expected to burn alive on his funeral pyre. Not metaphorically, literally. The fire is lit, you're drugged, or sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're pushed in screaming by your own relatives, because dying this way is seen as noble, as faithful, as the ideal woman's final act. Sati was outlawed by the British in 1829, but even after that, it continued in secret. And it wasn't the only horror. Female infanticide was rampant. Daughters were smothered, poisoned, buried alive. Why? Because a dowry to marry them off would destroy a family's finances. So the logical choice was to kill them as babies, and those who survived grew up being told they were cursed. Menstruation was treated as pollution. You couldn't enter temples, couldn't cook, couldn't sleep on a proper bed. You were made to feel dirty, simply for having a body. And if you were a widow, you were banished from public life. Your head was shaved. You were forbidden from wearing color. You weren't a person, you were a bad omen. You couldn't even attend weddings. Your very presence was thought to bring death. In this era, being born female didn't mean growing up. It meant surviving long enough to be burnt, silenced, or erased. So let's pause here. Take a breath. What if you had been born in one of these times? Would you have lived past childhood? Would your voice be heard? Would your body be yours? Probably not. And that's what makes these periods the darkest chapters in history for women. Because they weren't just ignored, they were systematically erased, denied identity, denied humanity. But even in the darkest times, some women resisted. They whispered poems under their breath. They healed in secret. They passed down knowledge. They survived. And that is why their stories must be told. So if you made it this far, if this moved you, disturbed you, opened your eyes, then do something about it. Like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. Because we're just getting started. We're here to bring the stories that history tried to bury back to life.